Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Estrad. I am a gerontologist and I've been working with the Council on Aging in St. Tammany for over 11 years as a consultant, educator, and all of that time as a as the caregiver support group facilitator. So today, as you know, this is probably not the first video that you've seen. If it is, then welcome. But we're going to continue with these videos that are around older adults, around aging health, around caregiving, all in efforts to empower you and to bring you information that you can put into action to take care of yourself and a loved one. So today we're going to be talking about social connectedness, especially for older adults, and how important it is, and why to do it, how to do it. So these are going to be some you'll have some tasks to do probably after that, and I say that in a good way as you take action on this very important information. Before that, as usual, I just want to tell you a little bit about our caregiver support group. We meet every Tuesday of the month from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And sometimes we're in person, sometimes we are virtual on the platform Zoom. We do put out a calendar or a flyer every 2 months, but the basic formula of the month is that the first Tuesday of the month we are in person at the Slidell Activity Center. On the second Tuesday of the month, we're on the Zoom platform. On the third Tuesday of the month, we are in person at the Covington Activity Center. On the fourth Tuesday of the month, we are back on the Zoom platform. And sometimes when there is, not if, but sometimes there are 5 Tuesdays in a month, and then we just kind of play it by ear and we let you know through our private email list whether we're going to meet or not. And then when we do meet, it is via Zoom. So be on the lookout for those. We just kind of tell you as those approach. So I mentioned the caregiver support group calendar that we put out every 2 months. So while you know the format now of a typical month, it's good to get that calendar and flyer because if a holiday falls on a Tuesday, we end up moving it later, usually later in the week. Or if I'm going to be out of town, sometimes I'll move it up a day to that Monday. So that's why it's good to have that, even though you know that basic formula. So, and of course, if you're on that private email list that is free to be on, you get email reminders every Tuesday morning as to where we are. And if we're on Zoom, you have a link right there in your inbox. And you also get that flyer every 2 months if you're on that. So consider doing that. It's very easy to do. You can call the Council on Aging in St. Tammany. You can reach out to me. We'll get you added for that. All right, thanks for listening to the housekeeping. Now we're going to get into our topic of social connectedness, why it matters, and how to achieve it. And this is you can apply a lot of this to anyone, but it's in particular in topic for older adults and caregiving and all that stuff. So why does it matter? So isolation can and loneliness is a health risk. They say it's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's how bad it can be. It increases risk of dementia, increases risk of depression, increases risk of falls and hospitalization. So we probably won't have time to go into the theories as why it possibly impacts that. But just know that has been established with research evidence. Does it mean that if someone's lonely, they're going to directly develop dementia because of that? No, it doesn't mean that. But just kind of as a whole, it's the evidence points to that being a higher risk, not that it definitely happened. So um, but loneliness is not fun anyway. So of course we want to reduce it. Wish we could eliminate it. We know that connection supports cognitive health, so conversations that stimulate memory, language, and attention, being able to focus on things. There are emotional benefits to not being lonely, reduces anxiety, it helps maintain identity and purpose, and just, keeps people together in relation to each other. It has certain spiritual and relational benefits, feeling known, valued, feeling remembered, having a sense of belonging to a community or family. So, if connection is so powerful, why is it so hard for many adults to stay connected? So there are barriers. So there are mobility limitations, there's hearing loss, there's vision changes, there's transportation, there's fatigue and grief and loss, there's technology intimidation. I'll go through each of these very briefly. So with mobility limitations, there's a fear of there can be a fear of falling, and there can be a difficulty in getting in and out of cars. So with regards to the fear of falling, it's a very real fear. People do choose, some people do choose to not go out because they feel like they're going to fall. So that severely shrinks their world, right? It makes it much smaller because now their world is their home or just like their kitchen and their bedroom and their bathroom. So because of that, they don't want to risk falling outside. It's a real risk, and I've gone through some training courses on balance and fear of falling, and the fear can even make it more likely that you will fall. That increases the risk of falling. So you may not be wrong if you have a fear of falling, but if you do, there are things that you can do as far as increasing your confidence and reducing the risk of falling. Hearing loss is another a potential barrier. It makes group conversations just exhausting and could lead to people withdrawing and not even wanting to engage into conversations, or going out and where they're going to have conversations, social situations. Vision changes can be harder to read faces and to even navigate spaces. There can be transportation challenges, such as someone is no longer driving, and there could be limited public transit, or they might be afraid to use or not know how to use public transit. There can be possible fatigue or chronic illness in which energy only comes in short bursts, but other than that, there's that fatigue that keeps people, it's a barrier for people going out. Grief and loss, such as friends passing away or even the loss of a spouse. There can be technology intimidation. That can be fear of breaking something, being overwhelmed by all the passwords we have to have about what do we have now? We've got not passwords, but pass keys, stuff like that. It's like it's like just there seems to be just like a lot of always seems to be something new that's needing to be learned, and if someone is not confident in that, it can be debilitating in the way of they're not going to want to use their phones, use screens, Zoom, things like that. So now that we understand these barriers, we can start building some realistic habits that can help make connection easier. So here's some simple ways to connect. These are habits that you can consider. Scheduling touch points, like a 5-minute phone call to your loved one. This is assuming you're not, you could be in the same town, but you may not be able to get there every day. But, what about a daily phone call? Just sort of like a check-in you set on your calendar, happens all the time. I do know people who do this, and the person receiving the call and the caregiver that does the caregivers that I know that do this, they benefit. They really look forward to it. It helps them to feel better. They know that they're providing some connection for their loved one, and it's a really nice check-in. So it could be a daily call. It could be a weekly check-in. It can be a shared morning prayer or reflection. So whatever happens in that, it can be a scheduled touch point. Shared meals, even if it's once a week, can boost mood. I've heard of caregivers where the family will go um, to the grandmother's home, excuse me, every Wednesday night. They bring the food, and they look forward to it. Grandma looks forward to it. It boosts everybody's mood. It could be simple foods, soup, sandwiches, it could be leftovers. It doesn't have to be a production. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. You can also invite neighbors or family over for just coffee visits, have some tea, have some coffee, etc. Then there are micro connections. These are small interactions that add up. This can be talking with the mail carrier. It could be greeting neighbors. It could be chatting with staff at a grocery store or the church or the fraternal organization, things like that. So these are just like quick conversations that can add up. Purposeful routines, such as watering plants together, folding laundry side by side, writing a weekly letter or card or postcard, or being a pen pal, listening to music. And then you can also encourage social anchors. That could be a weekly Bible study or weekly mass, or it could be a social center, senior center lunch. It could be an exercise class. It could be bingo or card groups. So you see, when we talk about an anchor, it's something that's happening anyway. It's like it's at an organization, it's at a building, it's at a congregation. So it's something that is set as an anchor and you're attending it and it becomes something weekly or even daily that you can quote unquote anchor these interactions to. But caregivers don't have to do this alone. There are community resources that are designed to help, such as senior centers, churches, coast programs, volunteer opportunities. So let's go through these really quickly. So senior centers, they have daily activities, and I'm kind of combine this with with Coast. I mentioned the Coast activities. So they sometimes have painting classes, arts and crafts. They have balance and exercise classes. They have congregate meals, meaning everyone eats together, and these are daily, except unless it's a holiday. So senior centers can be great. There are even transportation options for getting to and from the Coast Center. You can participate in faith-based communities, so Bible studies, prayer groups, homebound ministries, social events, things like that. um, various wellness programs at fitness clubs. If you belong to one, even there are some that, of course, there are some that are pricey. There are some that are less pricey. And there are some health facilities that will accept Medicare. I'm sorry, Medicare Advantage, maybe Medicare. You'll have to look into that because that can sometimes get you access to senior sneakers and things like that. Sorry, silver sneakers. Then there are potential volunteering opportunities such as reading to children, helping with church mailings or other organizations, making blankets or cards, light community service. There's I assume that there's like a wide range of community services from like Habitat for Humanity, where you're actually like it's a lot of physical labor, which someone still may be doing at an older age. And then I mentioned like writing cards, stuffing envelopes, things like that can be really helpful and fulfilling and purposeful for you and for that organization. Let's talk about technology. So when you can't have a physical interaction, or if you can't do it that often, maybe it can be supplemented with technology. So you've got tablets and similar devices. You've got caption phones. You've got video calls. You've got voice assistants, which is a general term for like your Alexa or your Google Home, Siri, and things like that. Then there are, if you are using these, make sure that you're using safety tips, that you avoid sharing personal information, that you're using caregiver managed accounts, that you keep passwords simple and written down. I'm not sure about the simple password one. Simple passwords can be, they're just a they're at a higher risk to be hacked. But certainly writing them down and making them short. Oh, my Siri woke up. Um, so, uh, so, Passwords, I'd still keep them hard to guess or hard to figure out, but definitely write them down. So, these are just like opportunities for conversation with your loved one or with your caregiver about how you can do these things. So we'll let you kind of decide how you're going to put these things into action. Um, So how can caregivers encourage engagement? They can offer choices and not commands. You can start small, just one activity a week. Pair social activities with something enjoyable, coffee, music, things like that. Celebrate the small wins. We like to do that with everything. Like just, recognize even just the slightest achievement of doing something once a week. Patience when you find resistance. This is sort of like planting a seed and letting someone decide for themselves. Model connection by staying socially engaged yourself. And it doesn't just, in closing, just know it doesn't have to be complicated. Just a few consistent habits can really transform an older adult's emotional and cognitive health. So I hope that the ideas that we talked about in this brief video have been helpful. I hope that you took some notes so that you can take action on these. And when you do that, I'd love to hear from you. You can put comments here on YouTube, or when we post these on Facebook, you can leave some things right there. I do want to, one thing I want to make sure that I mention is that if we're talking about someone who's living with dementia, it is not unusual for them to withdraw and to um, not find joy in the things that they used to like to do. And the reasons are many. It could be that they're not able to do it as well. It could be that they feel like they can't do it at all, and it's frustrating. They may just simply lose interest. They could be experiencing depression, where even things that were joyful in the past are not. So, and dementia, depression is a treatable condition, even if someone has dementia. So that might be something to look into. And we've done videos on depression and sort of how do you screen for it, and then how do you test for it. So I'd encourage you to check that out with our video or other reliable sources, and especially asking your doctor about that to screen you or your loved one for depression, which they can do very easily in an office visit, either in person or virtual. All right, we will close there. Remember that we have our caregiver support group, and we would love to see you there. We just, people find out about us in various ways, and it's always a joy when word of mouth gets to them, or they find us online, or whatever, however they find us. It's great because they find people who can speak the same language, who kind of get it, and can be there for them so that they don't feel alone. So, thanks again for being here. Take action on these things. You'll see a difference. And I look forward to you watching future videos with us. Take care.